It is what it is. How you doing today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I am well.
I'm so excited to be hosting along with you our second edition of Business Monday.
Yes, me too. This is exciting. It's exciting to see too that how many people are interested in starting a business and growing
Yes.
a business and being sustainable as well. So we're just happy to be able to bring some of our past experience and share it with everyone who needs this information. So, but thank you again for joining us last week. We really had a great conversation, mother and daughter conversation, Ronette and Jan, or Jan and Ronette.
Exactly.
But just to give you a little recap of last week of some of the things that we had talked about. There were a lot of questions, and we tried to answer all of the questions, but I know we probably missed a few, and we can actually, go through some of those today. And also, I'm going to do a better job at saving the video and posting this video because I'm a little Instagram challenged, okay? But now I know what to do. So, and thank you to our marketing team.
Right, because one of the questions I just saw was, how do I access last week's video? So we must profusely apologize for that. As my daughter said, operator error. We didn't save it and we just lost it, but we're not going to let that happen again. So.
Absolutely. So some of the things that we had talked about last week was how do you start a business? And I just want to reiterate a couple of things that we had talked about. One was finding your passion. What are you passionate about that you want to do, or that you think will make a difference in your community or wherever that thing is or business is that is needed in your community or wherever you think you want to do this. But one was finding your passion. Also looking at trying to create a business plan. Put together your thoughts, your ideas, what your mission is, and your vision. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to achieve? Who is it that you want your business to speak to or to help in whatever way?
Right.
So once you come up with those, then you want to start thinking of your business name. What do you want to call your company? And once you figure that out, it's not easy coming up with a name. So it took us a little bit to come up with ours. But once you figure that out, then you want to start looking for a domain name. You want to go on to the web, Google domain names, and you want to input the name that you've come up with and see if it's available. One company that I used was GoDaddy. And it was like 99 cents to reserve that name, that domain name. And then after that, I went to irs.gov to get my EIN, Employment Identification Number. And then I went to my local Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs to get my basic business license. I'm in the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., so I went to DCRA to get my business license. So, and also if you plan to do business with the government, you also need to have a Duns and Bradstreet number, which we call a DUNS number. And it's pretty much a number that does, that the government requests when you're submitting proposals, but it also allows for your company to have some sort of credit check done on your company on is your business good? Did people give good customer service? Right. Different comments from your customers, because your customers will have to pretty much do a credit check on you. So those are some of the things of the beginning stages of starting a business. And if you have questions along those lines, feel free to type them in. We have someone gathering the questions, and we will try our best to answer them. If not today, then next week when we're back on.
Right.
So Jan, did you want to add anything? Did I forget anything?
So Small Business Administration, SBA.gov is also a great resource to go to to look at how to start a business. They give you all the information that's available, and they're just a great resource. And I know you had another
Yes.
agency that you use
Yes.
for your business. Go ahead.
Yes, it's the PTAC, the Professional Technical Assistance Center. They're in every state. It's a free service, free, F-R-E-E service that you can utilize to help with developing your business plan, help with developing your capability statement, because your company will need a one-pager capability statement to discuss or to identify what areas that you have your expertise in, or what you're going to sell your business in, right? If it's IT or program management, training, whatever it may be.
So some of the things that we're going to talk about today is, maybe you don't have that expertise yet. So we're going to talk about building relationships. We're going to talk about, how to get that past performance and how to be able to put that one pager together. Because if you don't have anything, you don't have anything. But you need to go out there and get something. And just to piggyback on some things that Ronette said, now is a perfect time for people to start businesses. It's amazing. I was reading an article this morning, and I sent it to Ronette, that some of your big name companies got their start during economical downturns. For instance, Uber. For instance, Burger King, CNN. A lot of those companies started when the economy was on the down. So perfect timing. If it's in your mind, if it's in your thought, do it. Just go for it.
Uh-oh. Absolutely. And thank you, Joel, for reposting that. It's the PTAC, Professional Technical Assistance Center, and the SBA, Small Business Administration. And PTAC is in every state. You can also utilize SCORE, SCORE, which is also a free service. That's I believe they're contracted with SBA to provide small business information to small businesses. So SCORE, SCORE, and PTAC, PTAC, Professional Technical Assistance Center.
So Ronette and I, we decided we're just going to have a conversation, and that's what we're doing. We're just talking about, some of the things that we went through to get our business started. And as we mentioned last week, we intend to, at some point, bring on some other business owners. Our business happens to be in the federal and local government space, but we know that there are people out there doing real estate. You may be a beautician. There's so many people in different walks of life who want to start a business. So we're trying, when we talk to you, we're trying to talk in generic terms so that you can understand how to correlate between what we did from the business perspective to the federal government perspective to take it to whatever it is that you want to start your business in. And another thing that we really intend to do today as well is to respond to some of the questions that you asked last week. We actually noted them, and we want to definitely respond to those questions for those of you who posted them last week. And if I may, Ronette, one of the questions is, how important is character in starting and staying in business? Character, integrity, they're so important in business ownership. If you want to be respected by your team, your employees, your customers, you gotta have character. You have to have integrity. There's nothing that I ask my employees to do that I haven't already done or wouldn't do. So, and if your people lose respect for you, there's not much left. There's no reason for them to stay. There's no loyalty there. So it's very, very important that you exert that character. Lead by example. Okay.
Absolutely. And I would add to that is, sometimes I would come into your office and the receptionist had stepped away from the desk and you were sitting at the front desk answering phones and scheduling conferences and whatever needed to be done at that front desk. So being able to step in and show, hey, I'm not above this. I can get down in the weeds and, answer the phones, open the door,
Yes.
order the supplies, whatever it may be, I can do it as well.
Yeah, before I could afford to hire business development people and
Mm-hmm.
people to write proposals, I was doing all that. IT people, I set up all the computers. So yes, absolutely. So another question was there ever a point when you felt like giving up? My answer to that is no. Now, sometimes I say to myself, what was I thinking starting this business? What dream world were you in? But I've never, ever felt like giving up. I mean, I just love the fact that I can hire people. I give people opportunities, work experience. I can give back to the community, which is so important for me personally, and Ronette as well. And I can put aside college money for my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. And, other than that, I never, ever would look back and change anything that I've done so far.
Absolutely, I agree. Every day there's a lesson learned. Going forward with being in business, you have a lot of challenges here and there, but never have I ever said, I wish I hadn't done this. Like you said, I do have my moments when I'm like, what was I thinking?
No.
But
yes. So the next question is, what kept you going? And I think I've already mentioned it. The fact that I can hire people, the fact that I can give back to my community.
yes.
We've established scholarships. We do a lot with the schools, just giving back, period, on a lot of charities. And the fact that I can help my great-grandchildren not have that big student loan bill that I know probably a lot of you who are listening still have. So that was one of the reasons. That's what keeps me going. And how did you, go ahead, Ronette.
And I was just going to touch on that too, is building generational wealth, which we had
Yes.
talked briefly about last week.
Mm-hmm.
Is what you're pretty much saying is, we're setting it up for the grandchildren and great-grandchildren as well. But it's really great when you first starting trying to figure out, okay, why am I doing this? It's not just for me. It's not to, just enhance me. It's about giving back. And that I could say that's one thing that I've learned from you is that giving spirit, helping the community, because without the community, you can't do it all on your own. You have to hire veterans. You're a
Yes.
disabled veteran, 24 years in the Air Force, but you want to give back to them, to your community, to the schools. The scholarships are helping so many students. But I can just want to say thank you for instilling that in me, because it's joy. It just brings you joy to help others. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But then also building that generational wealth, which you don't see a lot of in our community.
True.
So.
Very true. I know when I talk to some of my friends about, my daughter and I work together, my son is also in the company, and I get comments like, I don't think I could work with my children, but you never know till you try,
Absolutely.
And I think we have our moments where we shut the door and I have to say, okay, I'm not just the CEO, but I'm also your mother. And then we close the door and then we move on from there. So, life goes on. So,
Absolutely.
but it's great. I'm so thrilled about the fact that, we work together, that we can work together. So another question was, how did you overcome challenges with capital? So I know that in 2008, when the banks went bust and things went crazy, I was caught in between lines of credit. And I needed some money to make payroll, and I just didn't have it. So I'm a firm believer that if I can't do anything about it, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. So what happened was no banks would give me any money. So I went to bed that night and I woke up the next morning on payday, and the government had paid me. So I wired everybody their money. But from the beginning, though, as far as capital, I went to you, Ronette. I said, can I borrow $10,000? Can you go to the bank, get a loan for $10,000? I need some money. And you did it. And I borrowed against my retirement fund and just scrapped some money and put it together to be able to pay people. And luckily, a lot of the people that I hired were retired from somewhere else, like retire from the FAA. So, it wouldn't hurt them to miss a payday. But, being a single parent all my life, missing a payday for me was like excruciating. So I never, ever, ever wanted to interfere with somebody else's paycheck, regardless of whether they were getting money from somewhere else or not. That's one thing I learned that you don't mess with is people's money. So, so I was able to, with the loan from you, and thank you for having the faith in your mother to go borrow $10,000 for me. I was able to learn from you that I just really, really needed that, and I really appreciated that. So I was able to make sure people got paid.
Right. And if I can touch on that as well, for me, initially starting, I started as a 1099 or independent consultant, right? So I was pretty much paying myself. Pretty much what I did was I saved every penny that I could save as an independent consultant, because I knew one day I was going to hire an employee. So 6 months after being in business on my own, my first employee, I was ready to hire my first employee. So I did have some money saved up, but when the growth started happening, I needed to go to the bank to receive a line of credit. I went to my bank and they gave me a very minimal line of credit. And I can't say whether it's based off of race. I see that was a question there. If it's based off of race, if it's based off of years being in business, or the relationship that I did not have with my bankers. So it could be a number of three things, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So to this day, I know I'm looking for another bank, someone who really trusts and believes in me, because I believe that I've built a great past performance, a great business up until today, and that my bank should value me and my business and want to give me more credit of a credit line. So I am looking to change banks at this moment. But Jan, what about your relationship? Because your business is larger than mine, so you do have that one-on-one relationship with the vice presidents of the banks, would you say?
Right. Yes. And I had a good relationship previously too. With a line of credit, you have to get it approved every year. Every year you have to go through the motions again and again and again. Mm-hmm. So Citigroup Bank is watching.
Thank you, Citigroup.
I know. So it's just a process. When I didn't get the line of credit that I was looking for, it was more because the bank that I was dealing with was being purchased by another bank, and they weren't giving lines of credit to anyone. So I cannot stand here and sit here and say that it was because of my race, because I had a good relationship with the bank. So I just don't know that. I don't want to speculate and say that I did, but I don't know. So another question was, how about challenges and lessons learned from teaming with others? And we're gonna talk about teaming and building relationships, which we haven't done yet. But let's talk about that, Ronette. Lessons learned from teaming with others and challenges in teaming with others.
Right. So I guess that will also weave into building relationships, right? So you definitely want to build a relationship with a company prior to teaming with them. Some of the places which we'll discuss is where you can meet different business owners, is at small business networking events, small business industry days, depending on what it's called in your local area. But that's where you go and you meet different companies, different CEOs, you pass out business cards, you pass out your capability statement, and you talk about and you tell them your 15-second pitch of the name of your business, what you do, and how you all can work together. But you have to have follow-up conversations, right? So you definitely want to schedule a meeting to discuss synergies and where your capabilities cross each other, and then look at opportunities that you can go after together. but building that relationship first is key. So I can tell you about an instance with me. I met with one of the larger companies, I call them the big boys, and they wanted to go after an opportunity with the federal government, and they found me. They wanted to utilize my 8A. They wanted to utilize my hub zone and my woman-owned small business. So you got to be careful, because there are companies who will just use you for your set-asides. And then there are some who really value what you bring to the table. So I formed a joint venture with this company, and we went after this opportunity. But there's a lot of money that comes into play when you're starting a joint venture, especially if you're the prime on a joint venture. You have to open a bank account. You have to start a new business, find a new name, reserve that domain name. There's a lot of expenses starting with that. But bottom line is, we went after this opportunity, we submitted the opportunity, and then when it was time for us to get down to the details, they said, oh, we can't do business with you anymore. I'm sorry. You know, once the thing was submitted, the proposal was submitted, and we were out of some money because the large business didn't want to back us in this opportunity. So that was my lesson learned from there. You know, do your homework. Don't just jump into an opportunity with somebody you don't know and you don't know that well. But as I go forward, the companies that I meet with now, it's I do my reference checks on them. I also ask, how do you treat your small businesses? If I have the opportunity to meet another one of their small business partners, I will ask them how they treat them. And then also, I want guaranteed work share in my subcontract agreement or my teaming agreement. You got to get it in writing, otherwise they could just utilize you for your set-asides. So that's my lessons learned. So I won't do it again.
So I have gotten into some bad relationships. I say bad, but they were more of learning experiences for me. I've gotten, team with people because when larger companies, and this is the government space, okay, we're talking government space. So when we team with larger companies, a lot of times they choose you because I'm service disabled vet, I'm woman owned, I'm, minority owned businesses, and it looks good on their books. They have to show a socioeconomic piece to their proposal that they're bringing in these small businesses to work with. So, and we've gotten we've gotten into, I want to say, into bed with them of sorts. We actually team with them and got no work from the effort. But you know what? If I had it to do all over again, there's nothing that I would change. And even though you may ask them the questions up front and you may get the answers that you want to hear, it still may not always work out. But you've got to just go with your gut feeling, and that's what I usually do. A lot of times I will do homework. We do more so now than I did early on. But I have a team who actually does that. But when it's just you sometimes you've got to go with your gut. You can do as much homework as you can, but you got to use your gut feeling. And if it works out, fine. And if it doesn't, oh well, just chalk it up to experience. But everything's not going to always go the way that you want it to go, but it will give you an experience in how the process works and what you can and cannot do and what you need to look for and what you shouldn't look for the next time you team with someone. So another thing that Ronette had mentioned, the relationships and the networking, reach out to your local Chamber of Commerce. And the chamber, now they have the Black Chamber, now they have the Hispanic Chamber, then they have the regular Chamber of Commerce, but your local Chamber of Commerce can help you network with businesses and small businesses, usually in whatever field it is that you're choosing to go into, to talk to people about, working with them or teaming with them or doing business with them. I was a board member of the DC Chamber. I'm still a member of the Chamber. I'm no longer on the board. I had so many things going on. I had to give up some things, but it's a good tool to use to help you find other businesses that do the same thing that you do, and they may even take you on as a partner or teach you some things that you may need to know. but don't close the loop on the Chamber of Commerce. It's a great resource. Make sure when you go to those networking sessions that they have, you have your business cards, and you can make those free online. You have some type of a capability of, even if you don't have past performance, of what it is that you want to do, and when you're talking to people, as Ronette said, your spiel, make sure you tell them why they need to hire you versus the next person that comes along. What makes you so great? Toot your own horn, because there's nobody there to toot it for you but you. So just do it. Just do it. So just some more comments. I'm trying to see if we have any more questions. I think we've answered most of the questions, but we were talking about building. I'm sorry, Ronette, were you going to say something?
Right, where you can find opportunities.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes.
I would say some of the places that you look for opportunities, especially if you're in the government space, which we are, is through betasam.gov, betasam.gov, and Fed Connect, FED Connect. Also, you can look at your local state's website to look for contracting and procurement opportunities. So for DC, we have them here as well. So contracting and procurement opportunities. And also, your local government may have something. You can also do business with other companies, right? So you can do some commercial work, whether it's with, I don't know, I can just say Walmart or whatever, anybody, you can do business with them, right? So not only limited to the government space, but all of the government opportunities generally come out of BetaSam, Fed Connect. And then there are other companies that take the data and massage it and make it look real pretty. They take it from FPDS, which is the Federal Procurement Database or Data Systems. I can't recall the full name of it, but it's FPDS. And they take that data and they make it look pretty. So there are companies, and I don't want to give them credit, but I can tell you anyway, but some of them are very expensive. But you have the GovWins and the GovTribes and some of those things that you can utilize as well.
Right.
So, but that's generally where you find opportunities, and you also find it from your teaming partners. So they could be looking at something and they want to reach out to you because you have the right capability or past performance that could help them win that opportunity. So that's a great way to go after work so that you can build your, once you get the work, you build your past performance.
Right. Yes. And I saw someone on the line who is in real estate. The government has a huge real estate capabilities. They're always looking for space to rent or space to buy. So you can take that real estate piece and just blow it up, expand it into so many different opportunities if you decided to do anything with city or federal government. So also beauticians, if there's beautician out there, and you may call it something other, I'm using the old school term, beautician, because my mother was a beautician, in the FAA headquarters building here in Washington, DC. They have a beauty shop. So there's opportunities to, maybe put something like that into one of the federal spaces because, people can just go straight, on their lunch hour to the beauty shop in the building, get their nails done, get their hair done, get their toes done, and then go back to work. So there's lots of opportunities in the federal government space for many of the different areas that you all may be looking at. So, yeah.
Right. And Jewel brought up a point of responding to sources sought notification. Every time I go to a small business industry day, they always say respond, 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 right? Number one, it gets your name out there. These contracting officers know who you are. Opportunities can turn into a full RFP. So depending on how many people respond, and also you can get it set aside for a small business. So if you know that there's something that you do specifically and there's a source sought out there, Call your friend who has the same small business set aside and say, hey, I need you to respond to this source aside, and get another person to respond so that they can set it aside for a small business. And so I would say, yes, Beta SAM source aside notifications is a great place to get your capabilities out there, to get your name out there. And then when you're looking for opportunities, if you can, try to focus on at least 3 agencies that you want to do a deep dive into, because if you try to look at the whole government as a whole, that's just too much. That's just wasting resources looking here, there, and everywhere. Try to focus, if you can, on 2 to 3 agencies, and do a deep dive and see where your capabilities will fit into what that agency is looking for. You want to look at the agency forecast, depending on which agency that you're going after. So I know Jan had talked about real estate. So HUD.gov, HUD.gov is a great place to look for real estate opportunities, but pretty much all agencies, and GSA.gov uses real estate as well. But look at the agency small business office. Their websites are open to everyone, but they have their forecast there to tell you what it is that they're buying. They should have it for the whole year, but some are up to date and some aren't, but it's a great place to start. So definitely look at the different agency forecasts.
Right, and just do a Google search for, say, Department of State forecast. That's all you have to do. And they'll bring up all their forecasts for the year. Or I know the FAA has a real estate piece. They're renting some space now out in Warrenton, Virginia, but they have a huge real estate piece. So there are a lot of opportunities in the federal government for real estate anyway, for sure. Someone just asked a question, how do you get new capabilities when you don't have past performance? So that's a good question. Ronette, you want to?
That's a great question, but really it's all about those partnerships, right? Mm-hmm. Form those partnerships with different companies so that you can go after different opportunities and try to, win. Once you win, then you have those capabilities. But initially, if it's just you, and I've asked this of CEOs previously, what is it that you do, right? So for me, I used to work for the FAA. I was an air traffic system specialist. So I worked on communication equipment. I worked on radars, radios, all type of lighting and everything at the air traffic control tower. So because I didn't have any past performance, I just had to go based off of what I did initially. And then once you, utilize that, if you can get some work on that, it's going to be hard, but at least you have something to say that, you've done. But it's really based on your business. But like I said, when I talked to different contracting officers, they said use whatever I've done initially to start. But then once you build those relationships and you start subcontracting under other companies, that's where you get a lot of your past performance for your companies. Right. And so you're able to bid as a prime and when to work on your own. Right,
because I was a budget analyst when, and my first contract had nothing to do with being a budget analyst. My first contract was to bring on 6 or 8 retired air traffic controllers to test some equipment that they moved from one location to another. So nothing to do with my background. So it's just being in the right place at the right time, making sure you connect with the right people who can help you get some of those past performances. As I mentioned last week, I think it's important for me as a business owner. I have several people that work in JMA Solutions who started their own government consulting type firms. And so what I did was to help them grow, I gave them a body on one of my contracts to help them get their foot in the door. And then they, the next opportunity they're going to bring to me and say, hey, can we go after this? This is what I can bring to the table, and can we work together on it? And so to just help people get started. And sometimes it's in areas that they don't have work in. You know, Ronette, when you came on board and worked with me, you got some engineering pieces or different pieces that you had no past performance in. So it's relationship. You have to form those relationships with some people. And as Ronette said, you know, once you meet some of these companies, make sure you follow up with them. You have to follow up to show your interest, you know, and don't just stop at one, you know, do a couple or three at a time, but just keep trying.
Absolutely. And Jan, you know, where you stand out, where you are a differentiator just within yourself, is you saw a passion in some of your employees who wanted to start a business, and you said, you know what, I'm going to give you a body. I'm going to give you a billet on this contract just so that you can start growing your business. Do you know how many people who will not do that? That is why you are so special, Jan Adams.
Oh, stop.
But I'm serious.
Stop.
No, other companies will not do that. So you really have to find somebody that you trust and that you know will bring it back to you. So and that's why I say sometimes that you're blessed, because you're such a giver that contracts, whatever it may be, just come to you because you've been spreading so much joy to others. Those opportunities come back. And so one of the challenges that I face is, and I know this is not on our topic of discussion, is facility clearance, right? So in order for me to get a facility clearance, I have to have a billet on a contract in order to get that.
Right.
Nobody wants to give you a billet.
Right.
Nobody. So I've been trying to do this for like 2 years now, right? Because there are a lot of opportunities for a woman-owned small business who is an 8A and a hub zone in the DoD space. And one of my goals is to get into the DoD space, but you can't do it without a facility clearance. So thank you for, you know, giving me my first body, and the other companies in your at JMA, and giving them their first body so that they can grow and prosper as well. Because with you giving us those first bodies, every opportunity we go after, we're going to come right back to Jan and say, Jan, we're going after this. We want you on our team.
Right. Exactly.
So thank you for that.
Yeah. You know, it's just the way it's supposed to be. You know, we're in this together. We're supposed to help each other because we can't rely on other people to help us. We have to take care of each other. And it just seems like the more that I give, the more I get back. And I don't do it for that reason, but it's just who I am. I just don't know any other way to be. So anyway, it's not about me. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about all these folks who are out here listening to us, trying to get their businesses started. It's 5:40. We said we were going to stop at 5:30, and we're still going. You know, this is great. I'm just enjoying this conversation, and I'm just excited if it inspires someone who's listening to start a business. I'm so inspired by some of your comments and just excited. Even if one of you just go out there and start something and become successful, it'll just warm my heart. And I know Ronette feels the same way, because we just want to share some of what we have with each of you. We want to share it. If there's any way we can help you, it's what we want to do, because we need more African-American, women-owned. We need more businesses out there.
We do.
And you know what? You got to have that oomph to get out there and do it.
And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to walk up to somebody and start a conversation. You know, there are a lot of introverts. There are a lot of extroverts. But if you want your business to grow, you have to be able to speak up and say, hey, I'm Ronette Myers, and I own JLAN Solutions, and this is what we do. You know, I'd love to set up a meeting and have a conversation just to see if we have any synergy, and, you know, we can possibly do business together. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Yeah. Did you have something to add to that?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, Kim had a question in reference to 8As, you know, being a small business. Are we thinking too small, or are we thinking broader? Well, with the way that the 8A program works, you know, you have to be in business for at least 2 years and have revenue for 2 years before you can even apply for the 8A. So I waited 9 years before I even applied because, number one, I wanted to ensure that I had the overhead infrastructure to support the growth, right? Because if you don't have the infrastructure, your business is going to fail. So I had the infrastructure, and I wanted to make sure I had capital to support it, right? So that's part of it as well. But one thing that my business opportunity specialist talked to me about initially when I received my award was I have to have at least 25% of my business in the commercial market. So not all of my business can be 8A, and I need to bid on stuff that is not only 8A, but also open, full and open, so that I have that experience. So when it's time for me to graduate, I am prepared to bid on larger opportunities, prepared to do business with the commercial industry, and not just be pigeonholed into the small business 8A category. So, you know, they give us a lot of training on how to market our business, how to submit RFIs, how to submit pricing, all of that stuff to keep us prepared for the growth and for doing business after the 8A program. And the 8A program is a 9-year program. So hopefully I answered your question, Ken.
Yeah, and we'll probably have a session where we talk a little bit more about that because I'm a graduate of the 8A program. I did my 9 years, and it really was helpful to me. Most of my work is because I'm a service disabled veteran. You know, I hurt my back when I was in service, so I'm considered a service disabled veteran. But we're going to get into, you know, more of some of those specific programs as we go along. And you know, I think we're going to probably come to a close here at 5:45. Ronette, are you okay with that?
That's fine.
Okay, but I want to, you know, we're going to try to fine tune this and have a little bit more structure. We're going to try to have an avenue where you can go and drop questions and get answers. We'll probably set up an email address or something that you can log into. I'm not sure. Ronette's looking at me. Be careful what you're out there promising, Jen.
Right?
Who's going to answer all those? Right? You know, I really want to say thanks to both of our marketing ladies who are online with us today and making sure that they capture the questions, and so that we'll be able to answer them when we come back to you next week. Iman Brown, thank you, and Ronette.
Caroline Jingori, thank you so much.
Yes, you know, we tried to do it last week without them. That's why we felt so miserably and weren't able to capture this event, but they're going to help us get through that for next week. Well, to be able to post it so that you can go back and look at it, and I can look at my blunders here. So anyway, I just want to thank you all for tuning in. We're going to, and she told me not to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. We're going to get the word out earlier next week so that people can actually put it on their calendars and be ready for this instead of letting you know at the last minute. But we just want to thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of this Business Monday with us. Ronette, any final words? Yes,
I see some people want to get in touch with me, but you can always get in touch with me, JLAN at JLANsolutions.com, JLAN at JLANsolutions.com. Those emails will come to me and we can definitely have a conversation. And Jan, your email, do you want to share that?
So my marketing at JMA-Solutions.com. I'm going to, but I really didn't want to put that out there. I want to set up a separate email specifically for this because that email goes for all my marketing stuff. So the next flyer that we put out will have a specific email address on it so that you can reach out to us. Okay. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Ronette. Anything?
No, just okay. Thank you.
I want to tell everybody to please be safe and be well. And we really appreciate you tuning in. It was so much fun engaging with you all today. And we look forward to next Business Monday.
Monday. Love you, Mom. Bye.
Love you, babe. Bye-bye. Take care.
All right.